Record. If you could learn anything, what would you choose to learn? The quest for knowledge has always been synonymous with the quest for happiness. In today's dynamic world, the sources of knowledge may vary, but the questions remain the same. Since its inception in 1976, Madhuban has emerged as a popular name in publishing for young children. Strong authorship and well-researched content are the hallmarks of all our products, whether textbooks, animations, or dynamic new offerings like mobile apps and virtual reality for textbooks. Even before Make in India became a popular slogan, we were making books and educational resources at par with the best in the world. As the world's largest democracy is emerging as a superpower on the global platform, it's time to acknowledge that the learning experience of each child is different. At Madhuban, we understand that Indian children face challenges that are different from the rest of the world, and we believe that their potential to excel is limitless. We believe that to help learners become true world citizens, we have to take the best of our culture and heritage and integrate it with the newest technology and pedagogy. It's only because of the faith and support of teachers and learners across the country that Madhuban has become India's leading publishers. But our journey of enlightenment is just beginning. Together, we can make a better India, where the mind is without fear and the head is held high. Into that heaven of freedom, my Father, let my country awake.
Welcome to the world of Madhuban educational books. Madhuban, a 4-decade-old name in publishing, has always been committed to developing the best quality learning material for schools. All our books are equipped with the latest pedagogies specific to the subject and the learning needs of students. We understand the challenges faced by educators and facilitators. Thus, every Madhuban book is accompanied by extensive online or offline teacher support material. This material contains comprehensive lesson plans along with answer keys and additional worksheets. The worksheets are graded from easy to difficult to ensure thorough learning. To escalate learning for different kinds of learners, the books come with seamlessly integrated digital content. The digital support includes animations specifically designed to enhance concept clarity, interactive books to help in classroom teaching, and interesting games to assess learning. A special feature called Test Generator is a digital bank of all possible questions from every lesson in the book. With this easy-to-use technology, you can create worksheets and question papers in no time. In an endeavor to promote blended learning, we have the Madhuban apps for mobile phones and tablets, which ensure extended and multi-dimensional learning through animations and short quizzes. To enable better understanding of the abstract and aid in better visualization, some of our books are also supported by virtual reality. Come, explore the world of Madhuban.
Change is the law of nature. Like Robert Buck said, what the caterpillar calls the end of the world, the master calls a butterfly. Technology has become an integral part of life. Its integration into education has made learning not only effective, but holistic. Educate 360, a blended learning product by Madhuban Educational Books, is a revolutionary product designed to ensure an all-round integrated learning. Educate 360 provides an easy-to-use learning platform which ensures a 360-degree connect between educators, students, and parents. It is a one-stop learning solution that provides animations, homework, assessment, live classes, and a communication channel all in one place. Each chapter has been divided into 3 parts: learning, concept-wise practice, and assessment, to ensure every student understands and practices at his own pace any number of times. Well-defined analytics help the educators and parents to monitor the online study time as well as the performance of every individual, to ensure he is making the best use of technology and is provided help as and where needed. Madhuban's Educate 360, a new age learning solution that helps students to learn anywhere, anytime, and use technology effectively and efficiently.
If you could learn anything, what would you choose to learn? The quest for knowledge has always been synonymous with the quest for happiness. In today's dynamic world, the sources of knowledge may vary, but the questions remain the same. Since its inception in 1976, Madhuban has emerged as a popular name in publishing for young children. Strong authorship and well-researched content are the hallmarks of all our products, whether textbooks, animations, or dynamic new offerings like mobile apps and virtual reality for textbooks. Even before Make in India became a popular slogan, we were making books and educational resources at par with the best in the world. As the world's largest democracy is emerging as a superpower on the global platform, it's time to acknowledge that the learning experience of each child is different. At Madhuban, we understand that Indian children face challenges that are different from the rest of the world, and we believe that their potential to excel is limitless. We believe that to help learners become true world citizens, we have to take the best of our culture and heritage and integrate it with the newest technology and pedagogy. It's only because of the faith and support of teachers and learners across the country that Madhuban has become India's leading publishers. But our journey of enlightenment is just beginning. Together, we can make a better India, where the mind is without fear and the head is held high. Into that heaven of freedom, my Father, let my country awake.
Welcome to the world of Madhuban educational books. Madhuban, a 4-decade-old name in publishing, has always been committed to developing the best quality learning material for schools. All our books are equipped with the latest pedagogies specific to the subject and the learning needs of students. We understand the challenges faced by educators and facilitators. Thus, every Madhuban book is accompanied by extensive online or offline teacher support material. This material contains...
Hello, good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon, Sudha ma'am. Sudha ma'am, you're on mute.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, Himani.
So how's everybody? Good afternoon, everybody. I think all of you can unmute yourself. We are meeting after a very long break of freezing winters.
Happy New Year to everyone.
Yes, I'm wishing a very, very happy New Year to everybody. So everybody can unmute. We can hear some noise after such a long break.
Yeah.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, ma'am, and Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to everybody.
Happy New Year to everyone.
Yeah, ma'am.
That's all, just so many.
Happy New Year to everyone.
Happy New Year.
This New Year bring in joy, love, prosperity, good health.
Yes,
And that each
everyone.
wishes at whatever age we are.
Yes.
Age is just a number, Yamini ma'am.
Yes, absolutely. Age is just a number. That's why even at this age, I'm learning.
At every age, it's always a pleasure to keep learning. So I hope this new year gives everybody, like ma'am said, a good health, a good year, a happy year, and a prosperous year for everybody. We've all seen a lot of challenges over the past couple of years, and this year we are looking at covering up all the challenges and emerging victorious out of everything. So today we've joined back here to the commune with the topic of listening skills, developing listening skills, part 2. We shared the listening skills part 1.
Oh, speaking
skills, sorry.
Part 2. Yeah.
Speaking skills part 2. We shared the video for speaking skills part 1 in the WhatsApp group. I hope everybody got a chance to at least quickly swarm past through the video just to recollect what we did last time so that we have a connect for the next time, for this time. So that was the aim of sharing that video in the group. And we are glad to come back. Now, once again, from January onwards, this is the first Saturday of January. And from here after, we'll continue our sessions just like we used to in the previous year. We just gave it a break during November and December due to festivals and then New Year and then examinations and then a lot of other things and the weather changing. Everybody needed that kind of a little break. So we broke for that time. And now we'll again resume our sessions. Sanjay sir is trying. Are you trying to show me something, or everybody, or is it just a picture?
What is it?
I think I could see his video. I thought he's showing something like this.
Okay.
Probably it's just a picture. Anyways, so I'm again very glad that everybody is on mute. The rules and stay the same. We have our team on board with here with me, myself, Avantika, and a couple of others. And I'll make everybody the co-host as we begin the sessions. Please make sure you're on mute at all times. Should you have any questions, any queries, we are on the chat box. Just make sure that you share your questions on the chat box, and we'll keep taking it up in the, as and how we get time in between. It's going to be a brief session. It's not going to be a very prolonged session. So like always, we believe in short capsules, and whoever is super active, we've already shared some of the happiness and gifts with some team members last year, and I hope we'll continue doing this year as well. So whoever is active and super active, we are noting down your names, and we'll make sure we'll send across something to encourage and to appreciate your efforts and your commitment to the commune. With this, thank you so much. This is Himani Mittal. I'm handing over to Sudha ma'am. Sudha ma'am, over to you. And I'll just take a second and mute everybody. And then, ma'am, you can unmute yourself once again. Yes.
So also I need you have made me the co-host?
Yes, you have the sharing rights, ma'am.
Okay, all right. So before I actually start sharing the screen, can you all hear me? Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am. I've muted everybody, so we'll take it.
Fine. So in the previous session, just to give a quick 5-minute recap, we talked about, fluency. We talked about how we need to speak a language automatically and what we need to do as English language teachers. And then we talked about competency and what kind of myths exist, when it comes to language learning, and the whole concept in many places that exists is, I need to know the grammar rules and I can memorize and I can go and speak. So those kind of things we talked about. And where do these beliefs come from? See, some of us are very fortunate that we are sitting in, cities and metro urban areas, and we have access, we work in good schools, we have access to a lot of material. Also, our exposure is of a different level, but that is not what is available to all the teachers across the nation. We are a very, very, versatile. We have a very large cross section, if I may use the term, and extremely, the range is very vast. So that being the case, there are multiple thought processes, there are multiple points of view. So there where we need to understand, and whatever information that you people learn in these sessions, I think you need to pass it on to your colleagues, your friends in smaller towns and cities, so that they also get an idea. And then we briefly, I think I did speak about CEFR, the global framework for assessment. And today I will be talking about assessment also. So what are the problems that we face in the classroom with speaking activity? I spoke about the inhibition. I spoke about there is nothing much to say. So also the mother tongue influence. So these were the points that I had taken up then. And today we take it further, and it is a 1 hour session. So as Himani said, we will, you can keep putting your questions on the chat box, and people are there to take them down and come in, talk about those questions at the appropriate time, or, maybe after a couple of slides, I can, ask them to share those questions. So now, straight away going to, can my screen be seen?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. So the objective is moving from effort to effortless. Last time itself, I had titled my presentation as Effortless Speaking, if you people remember. So here I'm going to take up very pinpointed methods on training students in speaking. See, I have always maintained, and those of you who have been regularly attending the Commune sessions when I spoke about listening, and then the first session on speaking, I said that very categorically that we cannot assume things. We cannot assume that students know this. We cannot assume that children know this. So we have to start from that point where we are going to give the right instructions. We are going to lead them to do an activity. We are going to be giving them the right instructions to do, to carry out a particular task in the specific situation. We're talking of speaking. Okay, so how to train students in speaking? That's why I have used the word train. Okay, there is a reason. I'm not saying how to teach, I'm not saying how to make children speak, but I'm talking of training them. Okay, so there is a methodology. Then developing confidence to speak from classroom to real life. Ultimately, why so much halabulla? Why so much noise about using the English language, being able to speak, being able to listen, being able to read and write, because that is the global language and they need it. They need to use the language in real life situations. They need to attend interviews. They need to perform well. They need to transfer the ideas in their heads to the team sitting in front of them. No use having the ideas, you know what you want to say, but you don't have the words, you don't have the expressions, you don't have the where you are not confident to say what you want to say. So that is then a big failure, isn't it, of the system. So if a child has remained in the school system from class 1 to 12 or nursery to class 12, 14 years, then when he goes out in the real life, he should be able to speak in multiple situations, in multiple kind of real life situations that he is going to come face to face. And we are also talking about developing their fluency, the flow, to be able to convert your ideas into the right kind of expressions, and it should just flow. There should be no break. So I don't know whether I shared this with you, but I don't mind if I'm repeating myself. When people ask me, how would you define fluency? So I say, look at it as a very simple thing. Fluency is driving on a road which is so well laid and there's not even a single speed breaker. Okay, that is what is fluency. To be able to speak without a break, to be able to continue your ideas cogently using the right kind of markers. See, the fluency markers, the cohesive devices, all this comes into play in the beginning, right? When you are training, but later on, it should be seamless. There should be no break. So if somebody is a fluent speaker of the language, it means that they don't need to use fillers, as we call them. You know what I mean? You know what? It's like this. So what are these terms? These are fillers that we use because we are searching for the right word. Our mind, we want to say something and we are looking for that word. So in that split second, we start using these terms because we know we want to say something, but it's not coming. So we use these fillers. These fillers kind of are, they can be very irritating actually. When we use them very regularly, when we use them after every few, can be. So that is not, that person who uses these words too often is not a fluent speaker. So according to international standards, according to international marking standards, the CEFR and in IELTS tests and BEC and all those international exams, you get marked down on fluency when you use these fillers. All right. So that is what we as language experts, see, we call ourselves language teachers. So first is our total awareness, and which we are, right? But then expecting children to know is sometimes where we make a mistake. So we need to, proceed in a very step-by-step fashion. And that is what I'm going to take you through in this about 45 minutes that I have. So starting to speak, when we say starting to speak, now, if you are a primary teacher, whether you are a primary teacher or a middle school teacher or a senior teacher, you can try out this methodology. Okay. At some point, we need to make a beginning, right? So when we are starting to speak, the first thing that we can start off with is personal habits. Okay. So I've here taken a little example. What do you usually do in the evening? So, you could have a little 10-minute session in your class as a warm-up or as in between to do a speaking activity. And you can say that today, you know what, we're going to talk about personal habits. So let me start with myself. And all these expressions that I have put here on the slide, I often, while I am studying, sometimes I go out for a walk. Sometimes I go to the beach in the evening to relax myself. As a rule, I go for a walk every day. Whenever I can, I go to the temple, I go to the mosque, I go to the church, whatever, I go to the Gurdwara, So introducing these words, these starters expression, usually, often, sometimes, as a rule. So what are you setting? You are setting the ground rules. You are telling them these are good expressions to use when you are talking to somebody. So these are conversation starters. Also, when people meet for the first time. So generally people, ask such questions which really don't have any bearing, but you need to start somewhere. So how do you spend your evenings? What do you do during the weekends? Okay. So what plans for this vacation? This winter vacation? How are you planning to celebrate the New Year Eve? Right? These are the kind of questions that are conversation starters. there is no serious thing happening here. Okay. So, but now if you have these expressions at your command, you don't say, I do this, I do this, I go here, I do this. So those become so staccato and so very run-of-the-mill statements. Then suddenly one day, when the child is preparing for a competition or something, he comes across these statements and he wonders, oh, I have never used them. So there is confusion. So if in the class itself, we can start training our children, right? So right from the beginning, if you do this, so you can take up these activities once or twice a week, depending upon how much time you have. I'm trying to say that also, so that as teachers, I'm also telling you that where can you find the opportunity? Please, teaching the literary reader is important. Don't spend 100% of your class time in teacher talk. They say teacher talk time, TTT versus STT, student talk time. Students should be speaking for 70% of the time. The teacher should be speaking 30% of the time. In a language class, this combination, this percentage division is supposed to be the best. All right. So how do you encourage? So where do you provide them opportunities? Okay. Then talking about likes and dislikes. I'm just giving you different situations where you can help them and you can get them out of their shell and ask them to start talking. My favorite, okay, you can ask them to talk about what kind of music do you like? Today you find all children putting the earphones and listening to music. What kind of music do you like? What kind of movie do you watch? What kind of dessert do you like? What kind of sweet dish do you like? So anything that is close to their heart that will generate language in the classroom. Okay, so taking up these situations and using these expressions in informal, I'm crazy about, I'm addicted to, I'm really into pop music. Okay, so when you give them all these expressions, then when they are with their friends, outside the class, in social gatherings, they hear all this. So now they know, okay, I can also use them. I know how to use them. So these expressions can be put on the slide, put on the whiteboard. We are no more in the chalk talk, blackboard chalk situation, right? You all have all the technology at your command. So once you put these things, you have the soft copy, you can just show it on the whiteboard if you have one in your classroom. And then use each of these, demonstrate, and then tell them, use each of these, okay, and talk about it. So start your sentences like this. So initially, it is the training phase where you are giving them these expressions. And believe me, the earlier you start, class 3, 4, 5, before that, it is more of natural classroom. You don't have to say that you are teaching them to express their preference. You're teaching them to express their likes and dislikes. No, this is all for us adults, right? You can, you can take the question and put that activity on the board, or give it as a slip of paper, or ask them to choose. Okay, now expressing preference, for example, do you prefer to travel alone or in a group? Okay, so how do they, so there is also what happens, there is some thinking involved, right? So today CBSE that already been made. I'm sure most of you are aware of. If you aren't aware of, the chairperson of CBSE spoke about this in the National Sahodaya Conference, and she made it very clear that we are getting into NEP with total commitment. So come 2023, everything has to be done within the framework of NEP. Though NCF, the entire document is not out, but NEP is out. You people have been training, you people have been listening to experts, you people have been attending webinars and workshops in the last 1.5 to 2 years. So there should be a lot of clarity. And if not, this is the, so this also, when you give these expressions, they start thinking which one I should use. There are so many. So the smart kids know how to use them. The not so smart will slowly start learning how to use them, right? So here, now there's a little bit of an exercise. Now you saw how I have used for expressing personal details, likes, dislikes, preferences. Now, when it comes to comparing objects or people, I want you to write down at least 2 to 3 expressions in the chat box, and we will start taking it. So tell me how you can do that. Can we talk of some expressions? Can you basically put down the way I have put down in the previous slides, just to show you? You can, I want you to write the first few words and, start putting those expressions on the chat box, please. And we will start.
Better than. So
Okay.
we got the first one.
Mm.
Tirtha ma'am says better than.
Yeah.
Similarly.
Yeah. Not similarly in that sense, similar to, yeah, not as good as, comparative degree. Yes, Yamini ma'am. Not as good as, bigger than, smaller than, right? So without teaching them actually degrees of comparison and getting into the grammar of it, we can, start training them in these things, right?
So, ma'am, the one point that you've just said,
yeah.
I get a lot of queries from teachers when they are going through books and other things, where they say that we've not yet, like you've just said, that without teaching them similes or without teaching them degrees of comparison, we could introduce these things. Similarly, in a literary reader or in a main course book, we have some grammar always,
Right.
which is not yet introduced probably in the grammar book. Some topics are still covered after the chapters.
Right.
So I also feel that it's a way of connecting to the lesson and introducing a concept without actually teaching it.
Yeah. See, labels are not as important. Please understand that let us not get lost in labels, degrees of comparison. What is important is for them to know the concept, how to use it. So just now, picking from what Himani said, if there is a particular grammar concept introduced in the literary reader, right, we can give multiple examples of the same, create worksheets, and get them to start doing those worksheets so that they see a pattern. What do you want them to know? You want them to know the pattern, A. B, you also want them to know what are the exception to the pattern, isn't it? That is all what there is to it, right? Yes, as they go along, then you can introduce and you can say that this is what it is called. That is called as, deducing the rules, rather than, you introduce the rules and from there you teach them, deductive method versus inductive method of teaching grammar. So the deductive method, it has been proved that deductive method is much better than the inductive method. In inductive method, the rule is given first and then the sentences or the concept. But what happens there is children who think rule wise, they get so lost in the rule, and if they find anything is not subscribing to that rule, they find it very difficult to accept. So it is always good, especially from classes 3 to class 6, it is good to expose them to multiple examples. That is why, see, all this is what now? What all you are seeing is what is usually, what rarely you say in a grammatical category, they are all adverbs. But what are they? They are conversation starters. They are cohesive devices, isn't it? So it is important that we do activities first, and then we get into the mechanics of it, okay, the rules of it. They are reading rules in mathematics, science. At least we can delay the entry of rules in language, and give them examples and scores of example. I was sitting and going through the class 10 board sample paper. Now, the kind of questions they are asking, can you beat it? They are giving an analogy. Suppose I want to test, let us say, simple is to difficult. Basically, what am I trying to say? The opposite. The simple, the opposite of simple is difficult, isn't it? So I'm giving that as an example. So I'm drawing the attention of the student in showing simple is to difficult, where I'm showing you the opposites as I pick a word from, pick a word, and the opposite is actually there in the text. Can you beat it? For example, let us say the text has the word weakness. So I say strength is to dash. Now, first they have to understand that I am here talking of opposites when I introduced an analogy. Simple is to difficult. Okay. Then I have identified a word in the literary text, which is weakness. Now I want to create an analogy out of that. So what I am doing, I am saying strength is to dash. And the rubric I am giving is find the word in the lines given above. And these are the questions that are given in the board paper. Now, how will they suddenly learn this in class 10? See, the pressure as such is to perform in the board, etc., right? So how do they suddenly learn this, right? So it's important. Give me a minute, Himani. Just
Yeah, sure, ma'am. So, teachers, I see all the answers you've given. Better than, similarly, not as good as, comparative degrees, whenever, however, while, whatever, in contrast to, I think that's a good one. Versus, in addition to, in consideration of, as compared to his or her, as far as it is concerned. Okay, far better than. Yeah, these are all interesting examples of comparisons.
So see, as I was just telling you people, this is just one example of the kind of questions from the literature section that is being asked of the students. Okay, now how do you train them in these things? This is the level of complexity, if you want to call it, that is getting introduced today. Okay, so that being the case, which means we are saying we are not talking of surface level understanding. We are talking of deeper level understanding of the text. Now, how does this suddenly come one day? It won't dawn on the students suddenly, right? So what do we need to do to ensure that our students are prepared to take up? So in every area of language, listening, speaking, reading, and writing, we have to up the game. We have to move, we have to challenge ourselves, and we have to challenge our students in the classroom, right? So same way in reading, you just go, there are 10 questions based on one reading passage. You know, there are analogies, there are suddenly, you know, they create, if it's a factual passage, they are creating a flow chart and asking you to fill one or two blanks within that flow chart. They are leaving out one or two blanks. Now, unless and until your student has understood the passage well, right? And speaking is going to be tested through ASL, right? Assessment, ALS, assessment of listening and speaking. So what all we discussed now, whether it was expressing preference, comparing, all these are called as language functions, okay? And we actually need to make students aware of these before they get into actual speaking. What is actual speaking? Giving a speech, okay, participating in a debate, speaking in seminars, participating in group discussions, knowing when to take turns, how to present your point. You know, all these conversation starters for different language functions will come in very handy when they have to do the higher level task. But what is happening? We are straight away saying, you know, we find some child is good in speaking. Okay, you know, you are going to participate in the inter-school speech competition. Don't worry, I will write the speech and give. The teacher sits and writes the speech, okay, and gives, the child memorizes. And if he or she is a good speaker, has got good memorization capability, goes there and can do a little bit of moving the hands and, has the stage presence, no stage fear. Okay, he will bag the prize and come, and we feel very happy, and it's done and dusted. Has the child understood what is written there? Tomorrow, if a few questions are asked out of it, will the child be able to take a stance, speak on it, convey his point of view? See, expressing point of view is very important. Please understand that why do conflicts happen even in families? We don't allow people to express their point of view. Listening to point of view helps us know what each person is thinking. Ultimately, the organization or the head of the family will take a decision which is in the good of the family. But when you hear, when you listen, when you pay attention to, when the person is given an opportunity to speak, that itself is the first step towards creating a democratic setup, isn't it? So these things go a long way, teachers. It is not just one activity, one function, one thing that you are doing in the school scenario. So in the school level, there is a lot of expectation, right, from them. And, if all that has to be achieved, then the beginning has to happen. That is why I said starting to speak. Okay. Now, when we say we have to assess, okay, what is assessment? Assessment is not simply, let us not reduce it to exam, test. No, assessment is much more. Assessment is feedback too. Assessment is more a rubric-based assessment. There are parameters. It tells you it is a competency-based assessment. Okay, so when we say we are assessing you in fluency, so I always used to tell my teachers, and I've even practiced it, right? Where I would say, tell my students that, okay, I'm going to have a very short 2-minute speaking activity where each one of you will get a maximum of 2 minutes. I used to use a stopwatch, and I would tell them, I'm only today assessing you on fluency and cohesive devices. So anything, when you say fluency, cohesive devices, go with it. Okay. And that's it. So you can even train them like that. So I'm assessing you on fluency. This is the topic, pick a slip, speak, take 1 minute, and then speak for 1.5 minutes, 1 minute, 2 minutes, depending upon the time available. I would give them such small activities where they had to stand up and speak. And I would tell them on a scale of 0 to 5, where they stand in fluency. So this is competency-based assessment, where you tell them if they have got a 4, what is the description of 4? So it's a descriptor. It's a descriptive assessment, where there is a description for 4. I'm sure you all use ALS and you all know that there is a description. So it is not that randomly the child is marked and said, okay, it's a whim and fancy of the teacher and she marks them, let us say 3 on 5, 4 on 5. No, there is a reason. We should, as teachers, we should be able to justify why we have given a certain score. So when we speak, fluency is paramount, because if there is disfluency, the listener cannot understand you. Okay, so fluency is very important, right? The next is the vocabulary, the choice of words. I can't keep using the same word. So which means I don't have a repertoire. I don't have a range. I don't have multiple words to convey the idea. So you go down in your vocabulary. So when a student gets 2 on 5, what does it mean? That he needs to, so he knows exactly when he gets low, the range was limited. So your descriptor will very clearly say, right, the range was limited. So he knows he has not been able to use. So what should I do? I should improve my range. I should know more words. If I have to use the word good, I should not keep using the word good. I should know what are the other synonyms of good that can fit into that particular topic which I'm talking about. And, that is where my range will come out. Okay. Grammar, obviously, the correctness of the sentence, the correctness of the utterances spoken. Okay. How whether the tense, the prepositions used. So that is where we all know what grammar consists of, right? And then the pronunciation. So when we talk of pronunciation, we are not expecting anyone to speak in received pronunciation, RP, which is the British pronunciation. Okay. Today, no more that is the rule. We have to have pronunciation which is intelligible. Okay, globally intelligible pronunciation. And by and large, we Indians do have a decent pronunciation. And we have to train children to look and listen to words. We can use the digital dictionaries and to the correct pronunciation. And our pronunciation in the classroom should be impeccable. We cannot afford to make mistakes. If you call yourself an English teacher, then we cannot make mistakes. Even if there is 0.1% doubt about the pronunciation of the word, it is better to check before we get into the classroom. Because children are paying attention to the way we speak. They pick it up. So we should ensure we speak in the right manner. Pronunciation is not just an pronunciation of an individual word. It is also, the tonal group, how you chunk when you speak, the intonation pattern, the rising and the falling tone, okay, where you take those millisecond breaks. You know what you should do when you teach pronunciation? I might be pronouncing the words correctly, but then my intonation is bad. The speech rate is very high. Okay, so as teachers, when we speak, we should speak correctly, pronounce the words correctly. Our intonation pattern should be natural. It shouldn't sound artificial. Don't use pronunciations that you cannot sustain. Be natural. There is no need to have American, Brit pronunciation, not at all. As I said, Indian pronunciation is good enough as long as you are intelligible throughout, according to the Common European Framework guidelines. Somebody who is intelligible throughout is at a C2 level of pronunciation, which is the highest. Okay. So intelligible throughout, intonation is correct throughout the utterance. This is how the band descriptor will talk. Okay. So either you can create your own band descriptor. You don't want to, please use the ALS, but be in possession of all the tools. As teachers, we should know how to do the particular activity, what tools we have at our disposal, how can I use those tools effectively to teach my students the correct method of pronouncing or speaking. Here we are talking of speaking. So these are 4 elements of assessment. And as I said, if you take a topic, if you think your learners are slow learners, then you can first tell them, okay, let us make a list of words for this particular activity. And we are going to talk about which type of music you people like. So firstly, I want you to make a list of words that gets associated with music. Before you talk, make a list of words. So that gets you the vocabulary. Ask them if they know the pronunciation of all the words. So you can do it as initially a group activity, and then each child can be given. Please understand, when you do all these generic activities in the classroom, in an English classroom, their speed of picking up their lessons is much faster. Don't worry, you don't have to read word by word to them. You don't have to explain word by word of the literature book. Give them the skills, the language skills, listening, speaking. We'll be taking a reading once we finish speaking today in due course. So empower them with the skills. Once you empower them with the skills, the content, which is it could be literary content, it could be generic content, they will start understanding. And wherever they want, you are there, no, to help them, isn't it? So the skill is what is more important than the content. Please don't keep looking at the content of and when we talk more, when we explain line by line, word by word, do you think they are paying attention? It's very boring, teachers, isn't it? You know, when we participate, when we become participant, the process is when learning actually happens. So the onus of learning has to be on the student. You have to shift from teaching to learning. You have to start thinking, how am I going to make my students learn this? And not say, I'm going to teach this. When you say I'm going to teach, then there is always a sense of disappointment, a sense of they did not learn. I tried hard. My throat gets dry and parched. I speak out of 40 minutes. I'm talking for 38 minutes. No need. Don't talk. Let them talk. You talk for 15 minutes. Give instruction. Your talking should essentially be restricted to instruction giving. There should be so much clarity in the way you give instruction that they should know what is expected of them. As English teachers, we should be very good in giving instructions. There should be no ambiguity, no confusion. Okay, so these are the 4 parameters of assessment. So any questions at this point, or we can take it up later? Now, while assessing, when we assess students for speaking, we must share the criteria with them. Let them know they are being assessed in all these 4 criteria. Tell them that in fluency, the maximum is 5, in vocabulary, maximum is 5. And what does a 5 denote? What does a 4 denote? What does a 3 denote? That entire descriptive parameters have to be shared. It's called the descriptors. There you have to share it with them. They should know. Why should they not know? Why should they be in darkness? Let them know how you are going to mark them. It's good, no, for them. So they know where they are lacking. Okay, I have good vocabulary. My fluency is bad. I still need to work on it. Right? These at some level, finer level, go together. But initially, we have to show them that you could be good at one, so that they get penalized only in the area where they need improvement. Because their fluency is bad, their vocab should not go down. Okay, he might have heard words and he might be using them. Sprinkling of good vocabulary might be there, but you might be using a lot of fillers. There might be break. He might be taking 1 or 2 seconds of break, and it's very jarring. You can see he's not able to speak continuously. Okay. Then fluency suffers, but he may not be that bad in vocabulary. So give him more score in vocabulary then. Okay. And they must know what each of these terms mean. Transparency is key to learning. So they know our teacher shares everything with us. There is nothing that is being hidden. So if I have got this score, then this is what it means. So they won't come to you, ma'am, why you have given me this score? Because the descriptor is already been shared. So compare, see where you stand, and see what you can do to better yourself, rather than complaining and asking why, parents coming and asking. When there is sharing, then there is transparency. Descriptors should be shared. So simple assessment grid, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay. And fluency, what does a 5 mean? So that's the final, that's the ultimate, that's the highest score, which means the correct cohesive devices have been used. There is no break while speaking. The ideas are coherently organized. Okay, what happens when we speak? There are ideas in our head which flow in the form of words, isn't it? We use words to convey those ideas. When those ideas flow well, and you join those ideas well, then you become a fluent speaker. So fluency is nothing but a combination of flow of ideas plus the correct cohesive devices, and but because of, as a result of, isn't it? So these all are cohesive devices. And how you speak continuously without a break. That does not mean fast speech, please. Now, if you think I am a fluent speaker, right? But I'm not a fast speaker. I have been talking without a break continuously. My ideas are flowing, but I'm not fast. So fluency does not mean fast. If you had that kind of a thought, please just throw it out of your head. There is no connection between fluency and fast speech. Fast speech is not appreciated at all. That also does not mean we have to speak very slowly. No. Normal, natural speech rate is what is required. Right. So this is how you create your grid, assessment grid, where all the elements of assessment get covered. Okay. So we start with basically the functions, language functions, which is extremely important. That is how we need to train. From there, they will move to, as I said, the tougher ones. And if you start this right in the first semester when the school opens, and create a little speaking, grid for yourself, monthly speaking schedule, and you do it once or twice a week, and you take functions, so that within 2 to 3 months, they are in possession of these expressions. They know how to use them. And then you can say, when you have done personal habits, you have done likes and dislikes, you have talked about all these couple of simple language functions, then you can say, now I want you to talk about yourself, introduce yourself. It's like, that is what they say today in interviews, right? Talk about yourself. They just let you speak. You want to know what is that you can talk about yourself on the personal front, on the professional front, on the area, what are your likes, dislikes, your likes for sports, cinema. So your exposure, your varied interest is what the interviewer is looking at. What are your hobbies? Are you able to talk in a sustained manner for 3 to 5 minutes? Only then, from what you have spoken, they pick parts and start questioning you. He is wanting to know too much of the technical detail, because you have come When people go as engineers or as chartered accountants, yes, their core skills will be tested. No doubt about it. But then at the end of the day, how well they can communicate, because everything rests on communication, either spoken or written. Can you conduct a meeting? Your own. Can you write to the principal, to the management, right? From a teacher's perspective, these could be the reasons for your writing. So these are the expectations that you will, these children also, when they come out, this is what is required of them from the real world. So when that is the requirement from the real world, are they getting trained in that direction? Otherwise, we find time and again, why, we are to things like, oh, Indian students are lacking in communication skills. You ask the big companies, the software companies who go to engineering colleges to take students, and they always cut a sorry face and say communication is very poor. They all have completed 12 years of schooling and then got into college. Now the formative years are the years that they spend at school, not the college years. By that, there is fossilization in language habits. Right or wrong, language habits are formed. Very difficult to change them. So it is the place where we are as school teachers. We have that power, we have that skill in our possession, and we have the method, and we have the tools. All of those are there. Then it is important that we use them effectively. Right. So thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Yes.
There is time, and I'll be very happy to take questions. So people.
Yes.
Yeah.
Ma'am, so we have about 3 questions that we've received on the chat box. Teachers, if there are any other, please feel free to put them up now on the chat box.
Yeah.
We'll take them up now. If you want to raise your hand and put them up yourself, please just raise your hand. I'll unmute you one by one. Well, the first question we had was that how like you said, that we use fillers while we are speaking.
Mm-hmm.
So the question was, how can we avoid using fillers? Are there any tips that we can use to avoid and to make children, skip using fillers?
So see, if you start pointing at them and saying that you shouldn't use it, these are fillers, we shouldn't use them, then they will become conscious. Okay. That is why I talked about all this for an hour. So train them not to use, train them in the right method so that they don't use the incorrect method. Right? So there are no, if you ask me for quick fix answers, then what is the tip that I can give? I can only say that demonstrate. Otherwise, as a teacher, when they are using a filler, you speak without using a filler and show them. So say that this is probably a better way. Instead of saying your way is incorrect, show them the better way. That is a very, that's a very immediately to do fix. Okay. But training them in the right way is a long-term method and a long-term solution. Yeah.
Solution. Okay. And like you were right, actually. I've heard you talk about fillers for an hour. And even now that I am talking, I'm trying to avoid using because it's very natural. And I was actually observing for a while that you don't use fillers. You go very slow and there are no fillers. But even when we talk, there are, like, every time, okay.
No, see, when we also will know, for example, in a meeting, okay, when you're all sitting in a big meeting in the department, in the office, then it may not be a filler always. It could also be that you are thinking. Okay.
Yes.
So there is a difference between using fillers, fillers appear more often than, so they are jarring. Anything that is jarring to the ear is a filler. Okay. So when you're saying, okay, somebody puts up an idea, let us say your marketing department and you all are sitting and doing a meeting. Okay. Somebody puts up an idea and you say, okay, so that is not a filler. There you are
That's kind of processing the point.
Yeah, that is processing what the other person has said. And you are thinking of the response to that particular comment or thought or idea that the person has said. You don't want to be immediately, you don't want to give a response and say, no, I don't think that will work. I don't think that's the right way to do it. So that's not considered when you are sitting in a meeting. That's not considered polite. That is inappropriate. That is being impolite, right? So that is what we all get trained to listen. First, listen. No, heavens are not going to fall down. The moment a person speaks, you are not going to implement that particular idea. But people, unfortunately, today don't even have the patience to listen. So it starts at school. Teachers have to start listening to children. These very children, when they become adults, they have not developed the listening skill. They have not developed patience. They have not seen their teacher listen to them. See, it's a very deep-rooted. You read psychology, you meet these children, then you will know all this. It's not just teaching a subject, maths, English, grammar, and all that. There is much more amount of reading I do, and when I learn, it is kind of crazy. It's not that I didn't know, but then your thought process gets further reaffirmed.
True. And listening, when they develop a habit of listening, it makes it easier to even speak.
Yes.
Because you are able to process everything that you want to talk about.
And you have your fund, your vocabulary sitting here. It's right here. Okay, it just flows. It just automatically comes. It's effortless, as I said, effortless speaking. Right.
And then there was a question that as we use British English, should we accept American pronunciations?
Yeah. Hey, no British, there is no American man. Don't get confused in all this.
Like schedule and schedule.
It's okay. Both are accepted across the world. I use both. Yamini seems to be raising her hand.
This is her question, actually. So I want to let her, unmute.
You can unmute, Yamini. You can come on video. We'll be happy to see you.
Good evening, ma'am.
Good evening, Yamini.
Thank you for this amazing session, Madhuban as well as Sudha, ma'am.
Thank you, dear.
Small question.
Sure.
I normally ask my students to read so that I can correct their pronunciation as a facilitator. And then when they finish reading, I ask the class, could you summarize what was just read? When they summarize, they of course summarize in their own sweet
Correct. Absolutely.
basic language.
Right. It's okay. Yeah.
And I then try to use over there vocabulary which they are not familiar with. Ask them to help out with the meaning. Is this advisable is what I wanted to know as a facilitator.
See, there is, Yamini ma'am, there is no one, sacrosanct or one structured method, right? But when we teach reading, okay, now across the world, I have gone through multiple methods of, as when I was in the classroom, when I was an active teacher. During those days itself, I used to keep reading books. And what I found best was to first do model reading. As teachers, we must do model reading. We must read the text first. Before that, okay, if we don't do that, your method also is fine. When we ask them to do reading first, that is called cold reading. When they are reading a text for the first time, where they don't know the intonation, where they don't know the pronunciation, nothing, but you just tell them, open this page and you tell, in the class, you say first para you read, second you read, blah, blah, blah. Okay, and you make them go through the motion. That is called cold reading, because they are reading unfamiliar text. They are reading it for the first time. Now, cold reading should be followed by model reading by the teacher without getting into pronunciation, explanation, meaning giving, nothing. Just when you read, let them just listen. Let them just listen. Do model reading more than once, depending upon the difficulty level of the text. Try this out. Try my method, and you will realize that there is a vast difference in the way children, after that, now make them read again. That's called hot reading. There is no need to stand in front of the class, read sentence by sentence and explain. Now, when so much listening has happened, meaning starts falling into place automatically. Guessing starts, because at the end of the day, they are curious learners. And after this, what I used to do is, in the textbook itself, my textbook would actually look very shabby when I was teaching. On the side with the pencil, for every page, I would have written some 50 questions. I never used the back of the book questions ever. I went there very late. That was given as homework and my children did it very well. Okay, so then I would start asking them questions. The questions would cover meaning. It would say, in this line, what does this word mean? And I had taught them the strategy of guessing the meaning of the word. Look at the front word, look at the preceding, look at the succeeding word. Do you know the meaning? Now guess the meaning. So the class becomes active in the process of learning. So cold reading, model reading, hot reading, question answers. This was my method of teaching.
Thank you, ma'am, for clearing this doubt.
Yeah.
And where the fillers are concerned,
Mm-hmm.
can we use linkers and discourse markers to?
Yeah. That's what I said. No, you can show them the right way. Instead of saying you are incorrect, the same thing you speak and show them that, don't you think this is a better way of saying it? Do you think this is a better way? Do you like my way of speaking? Do you think this is better? So that becomes, then they start thinking. So positive affirmation, positive statements in the classroom.
Thank you, ma'am, so much. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Yamini, ma'am. Ma'am, the next question is, while talking, do we need to correct the students regarding grammar?
No. I've said this multiple times. No, not at that point.
Ma'am, how far are audiobooks useful in speaking?
No, they are replacing you. So it's fine. So instead of, now I said model reading. So instead of you reading, if you make them read first and then play the audio version of the book. If the publisher is giving the audio version, please play it. So further you save your energy. Use it for other things. Good, no? Use technology, that is blend your, you are there physically, use the audio book. No need to, for you to read. If you're convinced that the audio book is, the way it has been read in the audio book, it is good and the intonation is fine, pronunciation is fine, just play it. Play the audio book. Don't waste your energy, save it for the future.
So, yes, and I will reiterate that all Madhuban books have.
I know, that's why I said that without saying it, I said that. I know you have the audio versions. So better, no?
Yes, ma'am, we have Vajanti, are you there? Vajanti, I have two questions. I'm trying to unmute her, but I'm not sure.
I am here.
Active.
Yeah.
Yeah, you had two very long questions. If you can ask them yourself.
Okay, I'll need to scroll up because I wrote them down.
So I'll ask the first question on your behalf. You asked, ma'am, you mentioned a range as part of vocabulary. Are there any other parameters of vocabulary?
No, yes, of course. The plural, the singular, Okay, the right form of the word, corrupt versus corruption, which form of the word has to be used, right?
Right.
So definitely the form, the singular plural, then synonym, the correct word, the right choice,
Right choice.
the choice of the word used, and affection versus love. Okay, love is a blanket term, but then where can you use it? Where can we use affection? Where can we use uh, you know the other synonym? Lust is also, if you look at the dictionary,
Right,
lust
right.
is there, but then it has a negative connotation,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
So see, obviously are part of vocabulary.
So is this also a gentle nudge towards consulting a dictionary? Because
Yes, of course. Very true. So ask them to look at the dictionary, ask them to, or if the publisher is providing you with the e-dictionary, just
right,
open it
right.
on the
We
screen.
do that. We do
Yeah,
that.
yeah. So that's a very
We
good
do that.
thing. Yeah.
Right.
It's
And also there are word clients that are there in some of our books, like related words.
yes, of course. Right. And
Right.
then there it can be used. So make a list of related words and then show it to them, and then they can start using them. So, see, initially, the goal could be taking each one of them individually and then bringing it together. As I said,
Okay.
depending upon, of course, I mean, which school are you teaching in?
I actually don't. I work with Madhuban. I'm part of the ELT team. So I
Oh,
joined in order to learn what should be going in the books and also to figure out what is
great,
right.
Vijayamti. Nice. So, I mean, thinking of multiple ways of how, so the pedagogy part as a ELT writer, you could suggest these kind of things, that taking up individually and then taking up collectively.
Right.
So vocabulary activities where you ask them to replace with the most appropriate word, and it is given in a box out there. So then that is also identification for them, right? Yeah.
Okay.
The other question that you have.
Ma'am, there was another question. Have you been able to scroll up?
Yes. So,
Okay.
like even not only with students, not only when we interact with students, but also otherwise in our daily lives when we interact, people use words like literally, or they say things like in actual fact, and things like that. So when students say that, should a teacher?
They have not been trained. These people also have not been trained. So adults are using these things all over. It's all over the place. So that's what sometimes really, I get very anguished.
Right. I mean, for somebody to say, I literally cried buckets when I heard the news. So then again, do we say that, when we, because we have speaking activities in our book, so should we then have, like, we also have models, like where we have a conversation and then we say, okay, have a conversation on these lines.
Yeah.
Then
So,
in our models also include these kind of things and say, okay, don't do this.
yes. Why
Pointing it
not?
out
Why
in a
not?
book.
So you can have a table, do's, recommendations, and versus do's and don'ts.
Right. Okay.
The right way and not the right way, the correct way versus the incorrect way. Somewhere we have to bring it in through the books also. No harm. So that then the teachers and the schools try to incorporate it. But then how much to give, where to give, could be
that becomes tricky.
Could be a challenge for you, is very tricky. I agree. Yes, people just pick up words randomly and start using, and I have observed this, and it is quite disturbing. Very incorrect use of words and expressions. So that is why it is important. You see, this whole myth has to go that language just is learned and anybody can teach language. This is another very incorrect thing that exists. Schools, I was in a school and I always used to put my foot down as HOD or as vice principal when I had to make recruitment, that I will not give English to anybody who comes into the school and who is fluent in the language. No problem. Good for us. But she is a science graduate. She is a postgraduate in social science. Let her do justice to the subject that she is here to teach. rather than getting into an English classroom. So you need that ELT background.
Absolutely.
You need to know that skill is the first step towards learning the content. The content could be picked from anywhere. I mean, in a manner of speaking, I don't need a book. I could even use a newspaper to teach.
Absolutely.
But then why? The book is structured. The book is structured. The book is graded. Right? So in that sense, it helps the teacher.
True.
But language learning is skill development. So this has to happen, right? Yeah.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you, ma'am. I have some very good feedbacks for Sudha ma'am. Madhu ma'am says, Sudha ma'am's idea of model reading seems really interesting.
Thank you, Madhu.
Then, ma'am, absolutely essential to me attending this session is valuable. So I don't have their name. It says that, ma'am, it's a word now where to place and where to give guide kindly. Roshni Swami ma'am, I'm not sure I understand your question. If you could raise your hand, I'll unmute you if it is a question.
Or it is just a feedback or a comment.
It's a comment. I'm not sure. Thank you. Wonderful session, ma'am. It's really a learning session. Fantabulous session. I wonder if that's the right expression, but yes. Wonderful session. So there's a whole set of, thank you so much, ma'am. It really feels like it shouldn't stop. It's beyond excellence.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you so much. God bless all of you. Let's start the new year on a great note, and God bless all of you. Looking forward to more sessions and looking forward to seeing the same people, so that then we have completed the 4 skills in that particular. That was the first discussion.
In the academic session, in one academic session.
I had, and we decided to take them through the skill part. So we have covered 2 skills successfully today, Himani. And
Yes.
We will be taking up reading, I guess, next, and then finally taking up the most
writing skills.
Writing. Yeah. Thank you, Himani.
Thank you so much, Sudha ma'am. Thank you, everybody, for joining in. And I'm sharing the feedback form in the chat box. Please make sure that you fill in the feedback. I think it's already been shared by one of my team members. Yes, Avantika has already shared it. Avantika, if you could share it a couple of more times. And we are here for any other questions that you have. Thank you so much, Sudha ma'am, for connecting with us. It's been a wonderful session. The feedback link is being shared again in the comment section. Kindly make sure that you click on it. Just click on it and keep it, even if it is on your phone. You can fill it up eventually. Just click on it and keep it in your open tabs. A session on clauses and synthesis. Ma'am, Yamini ma'am, we're planning the grammar session next. So most probably I'll update you in a day or 2. It should be next Saturday, 14th of January. But we'll let you know in the group itself. If anybody is not connected in our group, please find out from one of your team members or your colleagues, and please join the community so that you can get how to get added. Hema ma'am, all right. If you can just send me your number on my personal window here instead of everyone, if you can send your WhatsApp number just to me, Madhuban Books, or the co-host of Avantika. If you can send it to us, we'll add you in the WhatsApp group. We'll share the process and you can be added. Is Deepthi Agwane ma'am here? Is Deepthi Agwane ma'am here? If you're here, ma'am, if you could please just raise your hand. Deepthi Agwane. Thank you so much, Madhu ma'am. Deepthi ma'am, I'm sending you a message on this chat box only. Could you please call me on this number? Yeah, thanks, Hema ma'am. I've got your number. I think you have it. We've been trying to reach out to you, but somehow we've not been able to connect with you. Could you please call me on the number I've sent you in the chat box? Okay, Gary UG Star. Okay, sir, I'll add your number in the group as well. I'll just note down these numbers. I will, Gary's, I will, Shelly ma'am. I'm taking down your number as well. Thank you so much, everybody. I've taken down 3 numbers. Deepti ma'am, if you could please call me on my number. I've shared my number. Roshni ma'am, I'm surprised you're not here. I've taken down your number as well. We'll send you the links and you can join in the community. Thank you, everybody. We'll close the call now. Thank you so much. Have a good afternoon. Oh, that's why. Yeah, even we've been trying to connect with you, but we couldn't, Deepti ma'am. So anyways, thank you so much. We'll keep in touch and I'll connect with you. Thank you, everybody. Thank you so much. Have a good evening and a very hot and warm tea. It's very cold here. I'm sitting here up north. So people who are in Maharashtra, I'm sure you're having a nice summer. Thank you, everybody.